Alright, today is Thursday, January 28th, and this will be a different video than usual. I am not doing a market recap and analysis today per usual. And the reason is the markets are in disarray. Yesterday, the market sold off because those hedge fund managers who are getting short squeezed in GameStop stock and many others, having to sell their long positions in their portfolios to raise the cash needed to cover for the short squeezes that they are experiencing in GameStop and other stocks that they are shorting. Today, we saw brokers halting trading for GameStop and many other stocks that are targets for short squeezes from the Reddit crowd and the retail crowd. And you saw hedge funds taking the cash that they have raised yesterday and putting it back in the market because they no longer need to do the covering, at least for today. And you saw the markets going higher. So for me to do a market analysis and technical analysis, that will be a disservice to you, the viewer, because the analysis will not be accurate. Who knows what's going to happen tomorrow? And therefore, in this video, we will stick to explaining the situation, what happened, and then I will tell you my opinion and where do we go from here. Many of you have been hearing about short squeezes, hedge funds, gamma squeeze, but you are so confused about these terminologies. What is a short? What is a squeeze? I will explain to you everything in simple terms, and then we will go from here and I will tell you my opinion of what's going on. Let's start by the simplest stock market investing strategy. You have some money saved and you'd like to invest it in the stock market. You find companies that you like, companies that are financially sound, companies that are growing. You look at their records, their financial statements, their earnings reports, and if they are growing and delivering good financial results, then you buy a stock at this particular company in a form of investment. You're buying a share of that company and you're hoping whatever your time horizon is, 2, 3, 5, 10 years from now, that your stake in the company will grow as the company grows as well. That is investing in the stock market 101. But there is a different side. What if there are companies listed in the stock market that are not doing very well and the future prospects for the business are grim? Then there is another form of investing, this time around, betting that the company will decline in value in the future and you make a bet that that will happen. In this case, it is called shorting a stock in a certain company. So once again, long means that you are buying a stake in a company because you believe that this company will grow in the future. Short means that you are betting against the company and you are hoping or anticipating at least that this company will fail and decline in the future. Now, let's discuss what happened with the GameStop situation. We have 3 players here, the bank and a hedge fund manager, let's call him Melvin, and then the broader market. Let's say that Melvin is looking at a business such as GameStop. GameStop is a store that sells video games and video games consoles, and Melvin is thinking, well, with Amazon and the digitalization of video gaming, where you can buy a video game online, download it in the console, and play it directly, the purpose for a company like GameStop will not be needed in the future. And therefore, GameStop will fail as a company and eventually will go bankrupt in the future. So Melvin goes to his broker or the bank and says, look, I think that GameStop 5 years from now will be worth a lot less than it is right now. Let's say that GameStop at that particular point was trading at $50 a share, and Melvin thinks that the value of that stock will be a lot less in the future because the prospects for the business are grim. The bank says, okay, here is what we will do. We will lend you however many shares you want of GameStop stock for you to sell in the market right now. So let's say Melvin is asking for 1 million shares in GameStop. So the bank will lend him. He's borrowing. Remember this. He's borrowing the shares. 1 million shares, in this case, from the bank at $50 a share. Meaning that all in all, Melvin borrowed $50 million from the bank in a form of GameStop stock. Now, since Melvin believes that the value of this stock will be a lot less than $50 from now, what he does is he sells those shares that he borrowed from the bank at the current market price of $50. As a result, Melvin collects $50 million in cash. Now, let's say 2 years from now, Melvin is correct and GameStop as a company is struggling financially due to the digitalization of video games. And let's say that GameStop stock is now worth $10 a share instead of the 52 years ago, meaning that Melvin's thesis was indeed correct. So what does Melvin do in this case? Remember that he borrowed these shares from the bank. He still owes the bank $50 million. So what he does is he uses the cash that he raised from shorting the stock, the $50 million, to buy 1 million shares of GameStop stock at the current price of $10. All in all, Melvin is paying $10 million to buy back the shares that he borrowed from the bank and later sold to the broader market. And then Melvin goes back to the bank and says, "Hey, bank, remember the shares that you lent me for GameStop stock, the 1 million shares that you lent me at $50 a share? Well, they're now worth $10 a share instead. And here I am returning those shares that I borrowed from you back." The bank accepts the shares, and these shares are worth what? GameStop stock is trading at $10. We're returning 1 million shares, meaning that the bank receives $10 million. What happens to the rest of the $50 million? If $10 million goes back to the bank, where does the $40 million go? The answer is the $40 million goes in Melvin's pockets. And this is the whole point of shorting stocks. You make a bet that a business will decline in the future, you borrow the shares at the current price, you sell them in the broader market, and if your thesis is correct, you buy back those shares, you return them at the lower price back to your lender, and you get to keep the difference. I hope that this is clear. Now, let's discuss what happens if Melvin is wrong, if his thesis is wrong and GameStop, for whatever reason, becomes a thriving company 2 years since he initiated the short trade. What happens then? Let's say that 2 years since the initiation of the original trade, GameStop stock is now trading at $60 instead of $50. Then Melvin will have to either wait for his thesis to come to life and GameStop stock goes lower, or he has to accept the reality that his bet was wrong and he has to call it off. If he decides to wait, remember that he borrowed the shares from the bank. So there is an interest that he has to keep paying to the bank. And there is also something called a margin requirement that Melvin has to have in his account to accommodate any losses in the future if the trade goes against his way. Because here's what happens. Let's say Melvin says that the trade is not going my way, I think I was wrong, and GameStop is now a thriving business for whatever reason. So I'd like to end this trade, I'd like to close it, I admit I was wrong, I want to get out of the situation. What does he do? He has to buy the shares back from the market at the current trading price, in this case $60, and then he has to return those shares to the bank. Remember that he borrowed 1 million shares, so he has to pay $60 million this time around to buy back his shares and then return them to the lender, in this case the bank. All in all, Melvin will lose $10 million because the difference between the price from which he borrowed the shares, the $50, and the current price is $10. Well, he borrowed 1 million shares. That is $10 million. He's short right now. So he has to add that difference from his pocket and return the $60 million back to the bank. Are you starting to understand what shorting is, what the opportunity of shorting is, and what the drawback is? Now, what went wrong with the GameStop situation? This practice of shorting was a common consensus among the hedge fund community a few years ago that GameStop will fail as a business. So hedge funds, a lot of them, shorted GameStop stock heavily. Matter of fact, the shorting was so excessive to the point that the short float in GameStop stock exceeded the actual float available for trading in this company. What does that mean? You see where it says percentage of float shorted? Right now it is at 120%, but when this whole thing started, it was a lot more than that. Meanwhile, do you see where it says public float 51.44 million? Well, the hedge funds were so excessive that they have shorted more shares than there are available in the public float, and thus you see that the float shorted is over 100%. This is a flaw in the system, an error in the system, and perhaps the resolution and the outcome from all of this situation is that regulators will create new market regulations that prevent hedge funds or any other entity to short any stock more than the available float for the company in the market. Why is this a very important part of the story? Because if this trade is very crowded and everybody has the consensus that GameStop is going to fail and they are shorting more float than there is available in the company to begin with, what if something goes wrong? Say GameStop stock changes their business model, or they get bought by Amazon, or some sort of market manipulation happens, pushing GameStop stock shares higher in price. Well, then you're going to see a phenomena where these shorts at certain prices will have to cover their shorts because they're losing money. We discussed the situation when the price goes higher than the price from which you initiated the short position. You start to owe money to your lender. What happens is the hedge funds, in this case, will freak out and start short covering their positions, meaning buying back the stock and returning it back to the lender at higher prices, losing money in the process. But when they do that and they buy their shares back from the market, GameStop stock will surge significantly higher due to all the buying from the short covering being done from hedge funds. Now, as excessive as the shorted float was, hedge funds in this case were comfortable that nothing will go wrong in this situation because it is guaranteed. GameStop continues to decline as a business quarter after quarter, year after year. What could go wrong? The only thing that could go wrong is market manipulation. But that was not in the back of their heads at all. How would market manipulation happen to begin with? So what they did is they did not book their profits from the short trade. They left it open. Even though they have shorted GameStop back when it was trading at $50, $60, $70, and GameStop stock was trading a little above $10, meaning that they made a lot of profits from the difference between the current stock price and the original price from which they have initiated the trade. In this case, it was a much higher price. They did not book their profits. Why is that? Because they're dumb and greedy. They were waiting for the stock to go all the way down to zero. Well, somebody looked at the float for GameStop stock and said, wow, they're shorting more than 100% of the float available in the stock, meaning that this stock is primed for something wrong to take place and force a massive short squeeze rally in the stock, the likes that we have not seen before. That person is a market manipulator, by the way, because what they have done is another phenomena called gamma squeeze. And from this gamma squeeze, the stock price started to surge higher and higher and higher, and then it hit the magic number needed to make all of these hedge funds who are shorting the stock to begin with to start losing money and scramble to cover their shorts, aka buying back their shares at a higher price, losing money in the process to return it back to the lender. Let's stop here and discuss what is a gamma squeeze. In simple terms, let's say that my name is Mr. Happy and I am a retail trader and I'm looking at a GameStop stock and I'm saying I want to make a bullish bet, but I don't want to buy the stock. I want to buy an option instead. Why? Because I don't want to commit a huge capital for my portfolio to buy the stock, because I'm not sure if this stock is going to go higher or not. And I do not want to lose a lot of money. So I want to limit my risk. And I want to buy an option, a call option in this case, instead. What is a call option? A call option is a contract betting that a certain stock will go higher to a certain price by a certain date. And in this case, let me give you a hypothetical example. Let's say the GameStop stock is trading at $10 a share. If I want to buy 100 shares of GameStop stock, I would have to commit $1,000 out of my pocket to buy 100 shares. I do not want to take that risk. So instead, I am buying a call options contract. In this case, the contract I want to buy, let's say that I anticipate GameStop stock to trade at $15 instead of 10 2 months from now. So I will buy the call options contract of the $15 that expires in March 2020. And that contract represents 100 shares of the stock, but you're not really buying the stock. You're buying an option to buy the stock, and that option comes in a form of 100 options in one contract. So in this case, the $15 call option contract that expires in March is worth $50. I'd rather risk $50 than $1,000 in case I am wrong and GameStop stock does not move to $15 by then. So here is how the process works with options trading. In this case, call options trading. I go to the bank, a market maker. In this case, let's say it is JP Morgan. And here is the CEO of JP Morgan, Jamie Dimon. And I say, Mr. Dimon, I think that GameStop stock will trade at $15 by March. I'd like to buy a call options contract because I'm calling that GameStop will be trading at $15 a share in the future. So I want to buy the $15 call options contract that expires in March. Jamie says, okay, that's no problem. How many contracts do you need? And I say, I want one contract. How much is the one contract? Jamie would say, it's $50. I'll say, all right, here is $50. Mr. Dimon, can I have my call option, please? And he sells me the call option. Now I have that in my portfolio. If I'm wrong and GameStop stock doesn't reach $15 by March 2020, the expiration date, then that contract will expire worthless and I will lose the $50 that I invested in that particular contract. And the beauty here is that I'm risking $50 instead of $1,000 to represent 100 shares of GameStop stock. Because remember, each options contract has 100 options in it, and each option represents one share of the stock. It is a proxy of the stock. Now, what happens if I am right? And by March, for whatever reason, GameStop stock is trading at $17 and we are reaching the expiration date, then Jamie Dimon of JP Morgan Chase owes me 100 shares of GameStop stock at what price? At $15 a share. That was the contract between me and him. So Jamie Dimon will have to go to the market and buy 100 shares of GameStop stock at the current price of $17, and that would translate to $1,700. And then he will sell me those shares for the contract price of $15, meaning that I will pay him $1,500 to own these shares. All in all, Jamie would lose what? $200 because he paid $1,700. This is the current price of the stock, yet he sold it to me for $1,500. He lost $200. Meanwhile, I get to buy the stock for $1,500 and I get to sell it right now in the market for the current price of $17 a share, and I get to collect an extra $200. All in all, my profit is the $200 minus the original cost of the contract, the $50. All in all, I made a profit of $150. I hope this is clear for you right now, how call options buying happens. For Jamie Dimon to avoid losing money in this case, he would do something different. The moment he sells me the contract, he would go and buy shares of GameStop stock as a hedge, meaning I say, Mr. Dimon, I'd like one contract of GameStop stock for the $15 strike price, expiration date March 2020. He'll say, okay, it costs $50. I'll give him $50. He'll give me the call option contract, and then he goes to the market and buys 100 shares of GameStop stock at the current price of $10. Because remember, each contract is equivalent of 100 shares of the stock. So when he sold me one contract, he goes and he buys 100 shares of GameStop stock immediately at the current price, in this case $10. So if my thesis becomes correct and the stock surges higher, he's not put in a position where he has to lose money when the expiration date of the contract happens. So in this case, let's say that we are at March 2021 expiration and GameStop stock is trading at $17 a share. Well, Jamie Dimon bought these shares at $10, and now I'm asking him, hey Jamie, we reach expiration date, GameStop is trading above $15. That was the contract, that if the stock trades above the price that I'm calling, you owe me the shares. He'll say, all right, I owe you the shares at $15. So in this case, Jamie Dimon will sell his shares, the 100 shares that he bought as a hedge. He will sell them at the current price in the market of $17, collecting $1,700, and then he hand me the shares at $1,500 because my contract was for $15. All in all, Jamie Dimon gets to keep the $200 instead of losing it in the first scenario. Are you paying attention or not? All in all, it becomes a win-win situation between me and Jamie. Nobody loses here because he hedged, he sold the stock at 17, then he sold it back to me at $15, and he gets to keep the difference. And then I get to sell my shares in the open market for the current price of $17, and I make $200 too. So me and Jamie are good friends right now. We are in a win-win situation, and this is pretty much the basics of call options trading 101. Now, let's go back to the original scenario. I am the sinister guy who is looking at the public short float at GameStop stock, and I'm looking at 130, 140%, and I'm saying, hey, this is an opportunity here to exploit. If somehow I can manage to push GameStop stock prices higher, those hedge funds will be forced to cover, and when they cover, in essence, they're buying the stock too. And that pushes the price higher and higher and higher. So what do I do here? How can I manipulate the stock price to go higher and force this massive short squeeze rally? Can I create a false rumor in the market that Amazon is buying GameStop? That's not gonna work because Amazon will deny the information. Can I manipulate it higher by paying the company to produce false financial records that make them look better than they are really doing? Well, that's not gonna work because if the company conspires with me, we both go to jail. What do I do here? What do I do? And I'm thinking and I'm thinking and I'm thinking, and then what is going on in the stock market right now? We are in a pandemic, and we have a new phenomenon of new retail traders, young guys and gals, who are downloading Robinhood app, and they are trading and investing in stocks by the mass. What if I can convince them to buy the stock of GameStop and push it higher? Well, that's not going to work because they're going to be skeptical that GameStop is not a good company. Nobody goes there anymore. Nobody buys video games from a store anymore. Everybody downloads the games over the internet. That's not gonna work. But here is what I can do. What if I can have a group large enough or a buyer with deep pockets to buy large enough shares of GameStop stock to push the price higher and higher? And that leads us to the gamma squeeze phenomena. What is the gamma squeeze phenomena? Let's go back to the situation between me, Mr. Happy, and JP Morgan CEO Jamie Dimon. What if it is not just me alone who wants to buy call options from Jamie? What if it is me and a million other people, or perhaps 1,000 other people, but they have deep pockets and they can buy more and more and more call options? And then I conspire with them and say, look guys, here is what we're going to do. We're going to go to Jamie and we're going to buy a lot of call options, not just one contract. We're talking thousands and thousands and thousands of contracts. And in this case, when Jamie sells us those call option contracts, he has to buy an enormous amount of stock in GameStop and push the shares higher than where they're trading right now. All in all, we win. Guys, we win if we do this. And Jamie wins, so there are no losers. And we can push the price from the current price of $10 to 15 or even $20. And then we will have an argument sexy enough to seduce the new generation of young retail traders who invaded the market since the pandemic started. Because right now, nobody wants to buy GameStop stock at $10, but if it moves fast to $15 to $20, meaning doubling in price, that will capture their attention. What do you know? We orchestrate the scam. Jamie buys the shares, and GameStop stock shoots higher to $15 a shares, or up over 50%. Now we go to where retail traders are. TikTok, YouTube, social media, Reddit, and we say, look guys, GameStop stock shot 50% in a very short amount of time. And there's something called a short squeeze phenomena. Look at the short float. If you guys help us and you guys start buying GameStop stock at the current price of $15 with a group large enough, we can push the price of GameStop back to over 50, the original price where all of these hedge funds shorted the stock at. And as we push the stock higher, say to 60, 70, those hedge funds will panic and start covering for their shorts by buying back the stock at a higher price and losing money in the process, but pushing the stock higher and higher and higher. Because now there are three forces pushing the stock higher. Number one, you guys who are buying the stock. Number two, us who are buying options. And in turn, we're forcing Jamie Dimon to buy the stock with us. And then the third force is all of these hedge funds who have to buy back the stock at a higher price to cover for their shorts. And then we will have a perfect storm for this stock to shoot up to insane levels, because we have a gamma squeeze, and a gamma squeeze happens when a group large enough buys a lot of call options contract in a short amount of time, forcing the person selling us those call options to buy a lot of stock in a short amount of time. That is called a gamma squeeze. And a short squeeze is when we reach the level from which all of these hedge fund managers start to panic, buy back the stock, return it to the lender at a loss. That is called a short squeeze. So now we have a short squeeze, a gamma squeeze, and the retail participation of buying the stock. What a perfect storm. And you see what happened to GameStop stock. It shot from single digits all the way to the current price, at least the highs of today. Pre-market, it was trading at $500. But there is another sinister element to all of this. How can we convince retail traders to passionately participate in this scam by buying the stock or even join us and buy call options with us? We need to create a narrative here. We need to make it more than, oh, it's just an opportunity to exploit. We need to create a very sexy, attractive narrative. Well, the end result of the engineering of this scam is that hedge fund managers will lose a lot of money if we push the stock high enough where they have to buy it back at extreme prices and return those shares to the lenders. They will lose a ton of money. So let's create the narrative of David versus Goliath. Let's create a story that we are beating Wall Street, that we are sticking it to these evil monsters who've been manipulating the market for years and years and years with no consequences whatsoever. These evil hedge fund managers who've been taking advantage of people year after year after year. Lives have been destroyed by them from their practices of shorting stocks. When those stocks went down, a lot of shareholders lost a lot of money. It is time for revenge against hedge fund managers. Once you create the narrative of David versus Goliath, it becomes a worldwide phenomenon. And you see imbeciles like our politicians buying this narrative and saying, oh, it's David versus Goliath. And when Goliath is losing money, all of a sudden we have to do something to prevent their losses. But when David loses money, nobody does anything. Meanwhile, the person who orchestrated this whole scam is me and the group that I called upon to originally buy all of these call options before we sold the narrative. We are the people in the shadows that you cannot see. And now you turn on the news and it's all about David and Goliath. But is it really? We are now at the point where the short squeeze became big enough that it destroyed a lot of hedge funds. A lot of hedge funds lost a lot of money in a short amount of time because they had to cover for their shorts. And this stock, GameStop stock, shot up extremely high. And then the phenomena became contagious. And you saw retail traders trying to replicate what happened with GameStop stock with other heavily shorted stocks like AMC, BlackBerry, and other failing businesses with very high short floats. And this is where we are right now. Robinhood. Interactive brokers restrict trading in GameStop and options. And today the phenomena was in the news that a lot of these brokers all of a sudden decided to stop the bleeding for hedge funds and stop the mania from the retail participants' side of pushing these stocks higher by halting trading for these stocks, GameStop, AMC, BlackBerry, and a basket of other stocks that are heavily shorted. And the narrative in the media and social media is that these corrupt brokers are now siding with these evil hedge fund managers. They don't want them to lose money. But when we lose money, they never stop these hedge fund managers and Wall Streeters. They never bail us out. How come they keep bailing out Wall Street and the hedge fund managers and collude with them to stop any losses from these evil monsters. And now we have politicians talking about it. The Senate is scheduling a hearing about what's going on in the stock market right now, specifically GameStop stock. And here is Nancy Pelosi of the United States House of Representatives also being involved in the scrutiny of what's going on right now in the stock market. It has become a global phenomenon. And this is the part of the video where the explanation stops and my opinion starts. And for those who don't know me, I am known to be a very opinionated guy. Some people like my opinions, others don't. Please don't take offense to my views. They are only my views and my opinions. I believe that this is not an organic movement of a rebellion from retail traders against hedge fund managers. To begin with, most retail traders, specifically new retail traders, are not aware of these terminologies. Shorts, short floats, short squeeze, gamma squeeze, hedge funds. They're not familiar with all of this. I'm not trying to belittle the new retail trader. I'm just saying that when I started, I did not know about all of this. All I know is I like certain stocks. I do believe that these companies are going to grow in the future and become bigger businesses, and therefore I want to buy shares in these companies. This is how retail traders, specifically new ones, think. They don't wake up in the morning thinking, oh, gee, how can we screw these hedge funds today? How can we orchestrate a gamma squeeze? How can we orchestrate a short squeeze? How can we orchestrate chaos in the markets? I don't think the retail traders think like that. Retail traders got involved in this process after the fact, after the planning and the orchestration already happened. Once the David versus Goliath narrative was sold to them, all of a sudden they saw an opportunity to exploit. As they continue to see shares of GameStop surging higher and higher and higher, they could care less about what's going on with this holy war against hedge funds. They're just trying to exploit an opportunity, FOMO, to make some money. So what do I think is going on here? I think that this is a real-life episode of the TV show Billions. I think that this is a civil war between hedge funds or some other powerful financial entity versus these specific hedge funds who happen to be shorting GameStop. And this is a tweet that I issued today. This is a civil war between hedge funds that retail investors were used in as a disposable weapon. They sold you the narrative of David versus Goliath to destroy the rivals, and now they don't need you anymore. And that's why you saw all of these brokers blocking retail traders from trading these stocks. And here is my other take. Number one, hedge funds were wrong to begin with for shorting a stock excessively to the point where the shorted float exceeded the actual available float for trading in GameStop stock. Furthermore, why didn't these hedge funds book their profits? Once their thesis took place and GameStop stock declined lower, they made a killing. How come they were so irresponsible, so greedy, that they did not consider booking their profits and covering their shorts when they were supposed to? Now let's talk about the retail side of this war. The retail side, specifically a forum called Wall Street Bets on Reddit, who pretty much single-handedly was the tool to sell the narrative of David versus Goliath to other retail investors and incite them to join this war by buying GameStop stock or buying call options in GameStop stock. According to these people, they know that this is suicidal because buying GameStop stock at these prices doesn't make sense at all because the business itself is suffering financially. However, they are willing to do that to quote-unquote send a message. In this case, they became holy warriors, some sort of jihadists against the evil monsters of hedge funds, to the point where, according to them, they don't care about losing money. They know they will lose money because they're buying the stock at insane prices, and the business will never ever grow to where the prices today are reflected. But they're only doing it to send a message. And here it is. I'm not doing this to make money. I'm doing this to make history. And my argument is, while I do disagree with what brokers did today of banning and halting trading in GameStop and other short squeeze stocks, my argument to these people is the following. Why are GameStop investors mad right now? Didn't you guys say It is not about the money, it is about the message. Well, the message was received loud and clear. Mission accomplished, right? The whole world is talking about it. And a lot of hedge funds were destroyed by what happened. Isn't the mission accomplished at this point? Why are you guys mad that you're losing money right now because brokers halted trading? Why are you going to be mad if the stock starts trading lower and you start losing money? I'll tell you why. Because this whole bullshit narrative of David versus Goliath, that is not the real reason the majority of these traders join this trade. The real reason is FOMO. They saw the stock going higher and higher and higher, and they wanted to exploit the opportunity and join, take the risk that they could flip whatever amount of money they invest in the stock, double it, triple it very quickly. And my other take is, we heard from business titans such as Elon Musk, Chamath Palihapitiya, Mark Cuban, and even Davey Barstool, egging these retail traders, cheering them on to continue in their holy war. They're doing a good job, and I hope that they succeed. Mark Cuban went as far as saying, I love what's going on. My question is, why are you egging these retail traders to participate in a suicidal mission? What is the point? They will lose their money. Are you going to bail them out? Mr. Cuban, Mr. Chamath, Elon Musk, Barstool, are you guys going to bail these guys out when they lose their money? Of course not. You are egging them on to continue in this holy war, this suicidal mission, because you guys hate hedge funds. You had hedge funds in the past shorting your own stock and your own business. And boy, you hated that. So now you want revenge against your old foes, but you're not doing it yourself. You're egging retail traders who cannot afford to lose their money to do the betting for you. And here is the take. Is it really a holy war, a David versus Goliath situation? Is it really the common man, the retail trader, standing up tall and sticking it to the greedy Wall Street monsters? Is that true? Let's see. Citadel, the firm owned by hedge fund manager Ken Griffin, clears over 40% of Robinhood trades and profits from the surge of retail trading. And we know that Ken Griffin and Citadel bailed out some of the hedge funds that lost money from the short squeeze that happened in GameStop stock. So in essence, this is what's really going on. These retail traders, the holy warriors, are using Robinhood to buy GameStop stock and options, believing that they are participating in the David versus Goliath situation and exploiting an opportunity to make money. In turn, Citadel, the company that clears these orders and make a lot of money from doing so, using that money to rotate it and bail out the same hedge funds that these guys are starting the holy war against. So is it really about beating Wall Street when your money is pretty much rotating back to the same hedge funds you're trying to defeat? Furthermore, here it is, lost in the shuffle. Fidelity and BlackRock are the largest owners of GameStop stock. Collectively, they own 19 million shares, and they made up to $600 million in the past week alone. Definition of giving it to the quote-unquote man. Here is more. BlackRock, the largest firm in Wall Street, may have raked in $2.4 billion on GameStop's retail-driven stock frenzy. I ask you again, is it really a David versus Goliath situation? Is it really sticking it up to Wall Street, or is there something more sinister going on behind the scenes? Let's discuss short selling, hedge funds, etc. Are they really those monsters they're being portrayed to be? Number one, hedge funds are a very small niche in Wall Street. Some were involved in bad practices, insider trading, etc. And granted, the government and regulators did not punish them. They gave them a slap in the wrist and sent them back to do whatever they want to do for a small fine. So I understand the frustration from the public against hedge funds. They are not very innocent. However, short selling is a practice that goes all the way since the inception of stock markets. In a free market, you're allowed to look at a company and say, oh, the company's delivering in their financial results, and I'm willing to invest in this company and make a bet that this particular company will grow in the future and the stock price will grow in the future, making me wealthier. And you are also allowed to look at a company's financials and make the conclusion that this company is struggling and it's not going to be thriving in the future. You are allowed to make a bet against this company. This is investing in the stock market 101. It has been going on since the inception of markets. And furthermore, short sellers do the forensic financial work that sometimes the government and regulators don't do. They look at companies' finances and they detect fraud before it happens. And thus, short sellers are actually the retail trader and investor best friend. And here are cases of fraud that was exposed by hedge funds in 2001. Enron, Jim Chanos was the guy who shorted Enron because he did the forensic financial analysis and discovered that this company is a fraud. He shorted Enron and he warned the public that Enron is a fraud, trying to protect the investor and the individual trader. And we now know that Enron was indeed a fraud. A lot of lives were destroyed by the scams and the fraudulent activities of Enron. In 2002, Tyco. In 2008, the mortgage fraud. It was short sellers who bet against all of these companies, all of these financial firms that were involved in the mortgage-based securities fraud. In 2008, it was short sellers who warned us against Lehman Brothers and made a bet against the firm. In 2015, Valiant. In 2020, Luckin Coffee. It's a Chinese firm that was committing fraud in their financial sheets. And it was short sellers who discovered that fraud and warned the public and saved a lot of individual investors from financial losses. In 2020, Wirecard. And also in 2020, Nikola, the famous case that took place last year. And this fraud was exposed by Hindenburg Research, a short seller who placed a bet against Nikola and warned the public that this company is a fraud. And indeed, we discovered that Nikola is a fraudulent company. So once again, is what we're seeing right now in the market, specifically in GameStop stock, a David versus Goliath situation, or is it something more sinister? I will leave that for you to decide. But the question is, where do we go from here? Number one, if the government is serious about fixing what's going on with financial markets, they have to look no further than the Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell. This man is delusional. He's living in a different world. He has flooded the market with a tsunami of liquidity, excessive liquidity that fueled the speculation in the market and the irresponsible risk-taking that is going on in the market. And when Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell was asked about the role of the Fed in creating this mania, he denied any responsibility, and he said that he does not see any risks for market stability, and he's not even concerned about bubbles growing. This man is delusional. He's out of touch. He's creating all of these problems in the market by fueling the speculation frenzy. We need a new Federal Reserve chairman, somebody who's rational, somebody who has good morals and ethics, and willing to do the right thing, not the bidding of Wall Street and banks, just like Jerome Powell is doing. And the second thing is, we need to hire an SEC chairman who is someone who has the public interest in mind. SEC chairman after SEC chairman came from where? The same funds and banks they're supposed to police. And here is Joe Biden's nominee to be the next SEC chairman, Gary Gensler, who also happens to be a former Goldman Sachs employee. Really? This is the guy who's going to be tough on Wall Street? He's going to be tough on his old buddies in Wall Street and Goldman Sachs? I do not believe it. We need somebody who has the public's interest in mind. And the last thing is, who knows what's going to happen to GameStop stock and all of these shorted stocks right now? We heard news from the likes of Robinhood and other brokers that they will allow, once again, some limited trading in these names. I don't know if the mania is going to continue tomorrow and we will see GameStop stock surging higher and we will see more pain for hedge funds or not. I do not know. But if that continues and we see hedge funds failing, what will they do? They have to sell other equities they own in the stock market to raise the cash needed to cover for their short positions, meaning that this crisis will spill over to the broader market as the tsunami of sell-offs take place to raise the cash needed for covering all of these shorts, and that would be a disaster for the stock market. And if that intensifies into a market crash, that could spill over to the broader economy, where companies have to get rid of employees and reduce expenses because their equity value crashed lower. So the SEC needs to take a bigger role immediately in this crisis and wake up from its coma. The SEC has been a dormant organization for the last few years. They need to wake up and they need to halt trading once and for all for GameStop stock and other heavily shorted equities. And you might get mad for this suggestion, thinking that it is protecting the hedge funds. It is not really. It is for the interest of the broader market, because this crisis could spill over, crashing the entire market, spilling over to the economy. And when the market crashes, guess who will get hurt? Retirees, pensioners, etc. So the SEC has to freeze everything right now for 30 days. Do the investigation. Who was the entity, the mysterious entity behind the orchestration of this holy war to begin with? What was their interest? We need to look at the ledgers. Who was buying call options in significant quantities ahead of the move in the stock? And were they pumping and egging retail traders and social media to buy these stocks? Because that is a criminal behavior. Furthermore, that will not let short sellers out of the woods. They will still have to cover for their shorts and suffer significant losses, but they will have the time and the preparation to figure out where are they going to raise their cash to cover for their shorts without damaging the broader market, causing a market crash, hurting pensioners and retirees in the process. This is just my opinion and my view. It might not be the perfect solution. There might be a better solution here. I understand the frustration from the retail side about all of these hedge funds and Wall Streeters colluding together to manipulate the market for years and years. And now that the retail side is doing it, all of a sudden we have to enforce rules and regulations. I get that. But we are now at a point where the crisis has deepened significantly and became a very, very dangerous situation. It is not just protecting the broader market or short sellers or hedge funds, but even if we allow this phenomenon to go on, and we see massive price hikes and squeezes in these stocks, retail traders will get hurt at the end because the fundamentals of these companies do not support the prices. And at some point, these stocks will be sold off and there will be victims from the retail side who bought these stocks at very high prices. They will get flushed down and lose their money. Only very selected few in the retail side will win and make millions and become filthy rich. The majority will end up losing their money. This has to be done for the interest of all participants in the current situation. And again, I don't have the perfect solution. I don't have all the answers, but this is my take and my opinion. I would love to hear from you. If you have a better solution, a better suggestion, leave that in the comments. And let's have a civilized discussion without name-calling and nasty commentary. I hope this video was helpful to you in explaining what's going on with the markets right now, specifically the GameStop short squeeze. If you liked the video, press the like button, subscribe, and leave a comment with your opinion, your views on what's going on right now in the markets. Thank you for watching.